Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode is with Zelko. It's been a pleasure to catch up with him again. It's been over a year and a lot has changed. The RoninDojo team is one of my favourite teams, and they have now got a plug and play node available. It's really beautiful and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I always love chatting to Zelko. He says it exactly how it is and he doesn't mince his words. The RoninDojo team have a strong focus on privacy and security, and it shows. I really hope you enjoy the show, and if anyone has any questions about RoninDojo or how to get their hands on one of these plug and play nodes, you can reach out to me and I'll point you in the right direction. Before we start the show, I want to thank my sponsors, starting with Casa. Casa make it very easy for even a fuckwit like me to have multi-sig security. The reason you'd want multi-sig security is to get away from the possibility of $5 wrench attacks, and also if anything was to happen to you, to make sure that your loved ones could get access to your funds. This is a real concern for many of us when we make things so secure that either we lock ourselves out or lock our families out, and that's the last thing we want to do. So Casa are always there to hold your hand if you lost one of the 3 keys. It definitely helps me sleep better at night, and I've been using them for over a year now. I'm very, very happy. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or go to keys.casa for more information, and you can use the code BitByBit10 for 10% off any purchases. Next up, we have Fast Bitcoins. Fast Bitcoins make it so easy for you to stack sats. They have over 20,000 different stores you can go to. You can buy in cash, and you can do all of it over the Lightning Network. They are recently expanding into Central and South America, and it's really exciting to see the areas where people really need to use this technology. They are helping onboard thousands of people, and I really love what this team are doing. If you want to know more or you want to go and stack sats today, go to fastbitcoins.com. And finally, we have Foundation devices. Foundation have made the incredible Passport. This is my favourite hardware wallet. It's the hardware wallet I suggest to all my friends and family. The reason is it's fully open source, it's beautifully designed, it's very, very easy to use, and you can pair it with my favourite wallets, both on desktop and on your phone. It really is simple, and a lot of thought has gone into the design. I love this team, their ethos and everything they're doing. If you would like more information, you can reach out to me or you can reach out to the team at foundationdevices.com, and you can use the code BitByBit for $10 off your purchase. Enjoy the show. Hello, mate. I've got you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Very nice.
Welcome back. It's been a long time.
Oh, I know. Too long. This is actually one of my favorite shows to be on, to be honest. I had the most fun last time.
It was a lot of fun. It was one of my highlights of 2020. The one thing I can say, though, is we were fucking wrong about everything that we talked about.
What did we get wrong? I can't remember at this point.
We were really concerned about tyrannical governments. We were worried about censorship. We were being pretty hyperbolic, to be honest, because, as you can see, everything is fine and much better now.
Oh yeah, yeah. We totally missed that one completely. Yeah,
Missed the mark.
yeah, yeah. COVID has been like a eye-opening experience for everyone, right? Like we can totally trust the government,
Hmm.
and everything is just dandy. Yeah, we all get along. It's amazing.
Exactly. But how was your Christmas and New Year and Happy New Year as well?
Yeah, no, holidays were great. Happy New Year's to you too. Yeah, no, it was great. I spent a lot of time with the family. We got a lot of obviously we released Tonto and we've been doing really well. So it's been fun. It's been a good year. Minus COVID. Yeah.
Minus COVID. Yeah, well, if you close your ears enough and just live your life, it kind of starts to go away in a lot of ways, other than our freedoms being taken from us. But yeah, I found that's the best approach is just go into the gym every day, tear it up, sleep well, eat well, and just ignore the conversations with midwits, and life becomes a lot more simple.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is nice when you kind of put yourself in a bubble, you know.
Mm.
Because God, it's bad sometimes. It's good to put yourself with people that aren't like that.
Christmas time, round the dinner table. How's your father-in-law? He's my favourite character I haven't ever met, but the fact that he was shilling the corn to you was just brilliant to me. Was he still shilling hard?
Oh yeah, no, he's well, it's funny now because like I've developed, a totally different perspective, you know. So obviously we do always talk about Bitcoin, but it's funny now because he's like an all in kind of person. Like he loves the like the Bitcoin Twitter big news stuff, the lightning strikes and Swan and all that, and
Hmm.
like it's funny because I like there was a time period where like everything that he would say would bring up, and I'd be like, yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
stupid and whatever, and I noticed he stopped talking about it, so I was like, you know what, let me just pull back a little bit because
Mm.
not everyone has the same threat models and not everyone has the same output, but like we're all trying to make Bitcoin better. So I have tried to be more tolerant, and it's been a little bit better. So he knows when and when not to bring up certain topics now. I think.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you've got like 99% of the world or whatever it is, just like don't even know what the fuck Bitcoin is, don't own any. And then even within the 1% who do, you have this massive amount of difference in opinion, even to that point where it's like the Bitcoiners have more fights than anyone else, although we're so aligned on most of what we're thinking. But then, it comes to the privacy stuff, and you get really annoyed when people are fucking around on Coinbase and giving all their details away and, doing stuff that is perceived as dumb to a lot of us. But we forget how close we are on other subjects. And I think as much as it's fun to dunk on them sometimes, it definitely gets more done doing what you're doing and like taking that step back and just calming things down a bit. Because I found the same thing with me where, like I'd orange pilled people and spent so long shilling to them, finally get them on side, and then I started attacking them for some of the stuff they're doing, and I'm like, this is not smart. This is let's tone this
Yeah.
down a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's funny, and it's something that I was going to talk about. Was just like I I'm not necessarily like I started out being like a big Lightning supporter, and I thought that was going to be like the future, and then as I kind of changed, I still don't like hate the Lightning guys. Like I don't hate what they're building, what their vision is, what they're trying to do, because ultimately like they think what they're doing is right, and they think it's good for Bitcoin and they're trying to make it so you can use Bitcoin. So like actually spend it. So I respect that. There's obviously like hypocrisies in some of it, but like it is like it it should be making Bitcoin better. Having these confrontational fights and stuff like that. But ultimately, what needs to happen is that we all kind of step back and go, be like, hey, like yes, we do disagree, we agree to disagree, but like we're all trying to make Bitcoin better,
Mm,
and minus the people that like are only in this just for investment and they're like, oh, it's a stock. Like those people, no,
mm,
absolutely not. They will never get it. But and they maybe not never get it, but the people that like they're they don't see the value, the different value propositions of Bitcoin is I think that's the scary part when it's like, Bitcoin be like, oh, well, it went up really high and it's cryptocurrency. I'd be like, so I can make money with it. And I'm like, that is not what this, like, you're missing the mark, and hopefully you join and you kind of cross over and you start to dive in. But, if you've been in Bitcoin for like more than a year and you like still don't know that it's more than like just an investment, like you're not on it. And I don't know, those people scare me.
Funnily enough, one of the things that really stood out to me from our last conversation, I remember going away and like really thinking about it pretty hard, was you said to me, if you go in shilling to friends and family about how this is a great investment and they're going to make loads of money, it's very hard to then backtrack. But if you go in and you say, this is fuck you money, if you go in with that as your sell, then it's much easier to get them to understand why it's important. And I definitely changed my tactics after speaking to you, and it definitely worked, because now I won't even bother. Firstly, I won't even bother speaking to people about it if I think, you know what, I don't really want them being the capital allocators of the future. I don't want them being the decision makers, because they're cucks and they fucking wind me up. And I don't actually want them to get wealthy. I'll only approach the people who I think, you know what, these guys are actually cool. They actually have good values. I respect them, and I can shill them on the fact that fuck you money and fuck you speech is important. And so that's where I'll take it now. It means that now the sort of questions that I get from those people I actually want to answer, and I'm not getting, oh, it's dropped 30%. Oh, shit the bed. Oh, no. And I don't get all
It's
that
the worst.
anymore, which is so annoying. It's so fucking
It's
annoying.
it's literally the worst, and that's why, yeah, it really is. Like, it's funny, because ironically, like, if you take the approach of like, oh, it's a great investment, like, yeah, it's super easy. It's like taking the easy road, and like people join it, whatever. It's like cool, like more people buying Bitcoin, like that is an approach that some people want to take, and like with the maybe their ultimate goal is like, hey, get as many people off fiat as possible, and that's a win. And it's like, okay, yes, but like you need to understand that like that leads down this path of like the annoying, like, oh my god, it dropped, or like we're saying shaking out weak hands. If you don't bring in weak hands to start, or if you don't pitch them basically telling them that they're going to have weak hands. Like if I tell someone like, hey, you're going to make a lot of money, and then they're losing money, they're going to sell, or they're going to be those ones that like just constantly complain. So like, why even start with weak hands? Why not just like pitch them on the stuff that we are passionate about? Like we all know Bitcoin is good, hard money, right? It's something that you can actually use peer to peer. You can buy things with it. You can develop, like we can build out this process, and like it's censorship resistant, like all of these things like that are so applicable right now is even more reason to be passionate about the why you should have Bitcoin, and not just like, yeah, man, you should get it because you make a lot of money. And it's like, you're missing it. And yeah, you'll have a lot better, I feel like you're right, like you'll have a lot better experience. And that's what I do when I seldom, I like rarely will talk about like Bitcoin outside of family and stuff. But when I do, it's like with those people that, maybe we're talking about guns, or maybe we're talking about, the government, how we hate it and stuff like that. And then, they'll bring up something, and that's kind of when I'll go down the path, kind of like you said, like, that they're going to be, you kind of have that feel that they're going to be receptive. And I just pitch them on the importance of it and why it's so good, and I don't really get questions that are like, oh, well, like, how does the price go? Like sometimes I'll ask how the price goes up, but normally like, well, what is it backed by? Or like, how does it have value? And those are different questions that are better, more thought provoking questions than just like, hey, hold this for a year and then you'll be rich. Like, yeah, like when it's past a year because they're in a bear market, like they're going to be pissed, So hopefully with a bear market, it's way more fun. I'm ready for it.
Well, it feels a bit icy out there. So maybe maybe some shit can get done. Who knows?
Yeah.
You mentioned about the lightning stuff. I know, obviously, like there seems to be, especially a lot of the Ronin guys and samurai guys aren't particularly interested in it. It sounds like maybe you're not interested in it, but you have respect for the people building. What are your thoughts on things like the podcasting 2.0 and like some of these things that I'm personally finding is quite cool? I don't use Lightning that much, but having things like the Fountain app, I quite like it. People are sending me messages, they're listening to the pod, they're streaming me sats, and I'm like, yeah, they're sending me 50 sats here or 100 sats there. And, it's not something they're going to do on chain. So when you say like it doesn't really interest you, is it just like you feel long term something's going to go wrong with it, or you think there's going to be better tech, or it's just not really of interest because it's not a use case for you?
So I think it's a couplefold. I do think there are cool things that are being worked on. I think that, like the streaming apps, like people being able to stream you sats and stuff like that is definitely really cool. Like that is a cool application of Lightning. My only like disagreement with it is, I guess, just this like holier than God kind of idea that like this is the only thing that we can do and that there are no other approaches. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh well, this is our layer
This
two.
is it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I think, and it's like this whole idea of like, you have people who are saying like, oh, you have to self custody, you have to do this, and I'm like, the best like Lightning apps that are there are the ones that are like not self custody. It's like ones that you're not backing by your own node, and that's not like a knock on anybody else, but it's just like Lightning is very complicated,
Yeah.
and from like a user perspective, end user perspective, like channel balancing and not being able to get the right hops, like not going through and having connection issues, like, and then having to go to like pretty much a central hub for liquidity, those kind of things. And that's not to say, I'm sure there'll be people that comment and say like disagree, and that's totally fine. Like I'm all open for disagreement and all that. I think it's just like it's the voice on Twitter that like, try to say that like you have to do this or else like you're not gonna, like, your wallet, your project isn't gonna make it. And I'm like, there's use cases for everything. And so like the more like attack and push that I get from from a Lightning side, the more I'm like, this is like, it kind of makes me like cut off from it. I'm kind of like, I don't see why I would need that. And I definitely get where like people want to use it. People want to try it, play with it, send sats, like do stuff like that. And I hope that we continue to build it out. Like I wouldn't want something to be unsuccessful that's good for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And if they get there and they can make it secure and we can keep this foundation, like if we can make the best apps, non-custodial ones that you can back by your own node, then yeah, let's do it, with all the grid security features and everything else. But, again, I respect what they're doing. It's just, it's not like a pressing thing for me right now. When Lightning's super stable and like it is, proven to be the way without like shady stuff happening, I'm all for it. But Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and on chain is, you can't really go wrong. Like we know what's going on. So
yeah, I like that approach. And I also like the fact that like the two nodes I run, I've got my Raspberry Blitz for obviously anything to do with Lightning, and then I've got my RoninDojo for everything else. And I'm quite happy having that. Like, I'm quite happy just knowing, well, there's two different projects and they're doing different things and they're really fucking good at what they do. I think they're the two best. That's why I run them, and they're separate. And like, I've got no want or desire or need to be like, oh, fucking hell, you're going to integrate Lightning. I don't give a shit. Like, just do what you do and do it well. In terms of the custodial stuff, like, I'll probably get shouted at for this, is like, I still use custodial Lightning stuff, and it's because it's better most of the time, and it's because I only deal with such tiny amounts that I don't care, but if I was to get rug pulled for like 20 quid, I might be a bit annoyed, but I'm not going to cry about it. And that's the sort of money that I'm talking about. Like, I get streamed, I think maybe like 15 quid in like 3 months or something like that. So it's not like a massive issue for me. And then anything that's like serious amounts, then I'll do that on chain. So I'm somewhere in the middle where I'm like, if it works, then awesome, but I just don't yet use it that much. And I'm also interested in any other sort of scaling solutions. Yeah, just see what happens, really.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like that's why custodial like Lightning wallets kind of like look very advertising right now, because most people aren't putting, their net worth of Bitcoin into a Lightning wallet. It's like, normally people will put small amounts and however much that they're doing, they put that amount that they're willing to, like, quote unquote risk, and then they take it off. And so it's like, yeah, like that works like that. If that's what works for you and that's what people want to do, especially with these like streaming apps are really big now, like I have no issue with it. And yeah, that's why I think that the more projects focus on what they're supposed to do and what that they want to be good at, like that's why I love Raspberry Blitz. Like they are like very focused on like Lightning and building out Lightning stuff. Like that's what they want to do. And I'm like, that's cool. Like go for it. And that's why they do it well. And I think that's why we do well on-chain stuff and privacy stuff. Cause like, we're not like, man, I can't imagine having the amount of support and help that I would need to like integrating Lightning on top of everything else that we do. Yeah. So
you got enough
I'm super happy. Yeah. It's not like I think there's like a lot of like a kind of tinkerer people that like love helping other people with Lightning. So I think community would kind of take care of itself. But like, man, like it would take a lot of like research, development, time for me to be like the subject matter expert on like all of the Lightning issues that you have or Lightning stuff that's going on. So I'd much rather, continue the privacy piece. Maybe when something really cool happens and we can integrate a piece together, like we can look at it and see how that works. But I think I hope that they continue to build some other like use cases for it other than just small purchases and stuff like that, because like the streaming thing is really cool. I was actually really excited when I saw that. So
well, I'm glad that you are focusing on just one thing. You've been very busy since we last spoke, and you mentioned it earlier, but the RoninDojo, is it Tanto? Is that how I pronounce it?
Yep. Yeah, the Tanto. Yep.
Pretty fucking nice. I'm really envious of everyone who is ordering these, and I want one on my desk. You've absolutely fucking knocked it out of the park. It's really, really beautiful. So I'd say for anyone who's listening, I'm going to put a link to the shop in the show notes for when this goes live, but go and have a look at it if you haven't yet. But mate, how did this come about? How long did it take? And I can see a lot of time and effort and thought has gone into this thing.
Yes. No. So, oh man, when did this start? It probably started like November, December last year. Actually, we got approached by someone on Telegram who goes by Dinjarin, which I thought was awesome because I do love Star Wars, so that was cool. And and he was like, hey, like I really want to build a metal case. And we had been doing like the 3D print stuff and trying to make that work. And it was kind of like that hobby feel. And we're like, yeah, sure, man. Like whatever you want, like, let's do it. Send us what you got. And so he kind of took it from there and like come to find out, he's been like a product engineer for a long time and he wanted to give back to a FOSS community and really liked our focus and our project. So through some trial and error and some research and development on his side, he's really like taken the lead. Like this is 100% like the design, how everything looks. It is like his baby. And, he's got like local contacts. He's taking care of all the manufacturing as well, which is great, but he's based out of Taiwan. So he's got all of these other, manufacturers out there. So it kind of worked out perfect. And, we went from having kind of like a bigger box size, like taller. And then he redesigned a PCIe adapter. So it would be 90 degrees turn. And that's how we keep it nice and small. It's only 4 centimeters high. So, he went through that. We got it CNC milled. So it's all passive cooling. It's like I was kind of shocked when I first picked it up. It is solid. Like it is like it's like a Mac Mini, but like it's one of those things where you pick it up and you're like, holy shit, like this is the real deal, Is
it aluminium?
Yes, it's aluminum, CNC milled aluminum, and he redesigned it. This the final product only has 4 screws, so everything falls right into place. So even if you had to take it apart, it's super easy. but yeah, he crushed it. And from there, it was kind of like back and forth. Like one of the cool things that he brought to us was like, hey, I want to put this. If you notice, there's like a small cut on one of the edges. And that is from like a product engineer's perspective, right? Like that can only be done by CNC milling. So you can't do that with like sheet metal, and you can't do that with like mass production of like
course.
Of other stuff. So it is like a kind of like a trademark, but it's also like a tip in the hat. We're kind of say that's like, it looks like a samurai came and cut the edge off, right, with his katana. So like all those little details, like I'm not going to take credit for it, because like this was like, he just brought it to me, and I'm just like, I shit my pants every time he brought something new to me. And yeah, so he crushed it. And then from there, we started to, now that we kind of have that down, we're working on the distribution piece. And the distribution piece, we want to make sure, like our goal, like I know it sucks, we have a lot of UK people, a lot of EU guys. I've had people from like all these other countries kind of reaching out, and they're like really, really want it, which is awesome. And I want to get it to people, especially those who need it. The only, like the hard part is that we don't want to, like, with COVID and, imports and all that other stuff, we don't want to screw over users without knowing the exact risk. So we're trying to work that piece out. And we should have, our next batch will be for the EU and UK guys. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully end of February is what we're looking for. And then, we'll be able to get that out. And then software side, the cool thing is that we're about to have a new release, but when these get shipped out, right, there's going to be a new release with this brand new UI that we've been working on. So it's going to be, the way I like to put it, and I'll show you a picture. Actually, I'll just DM it to you when so you can see it real quick. But it looks like, I like to say it looks like a cypherpunk version of the Umbro kind of style. And it's super clean. It's super clean, but it's super mean, and I like it. So yeah, I'll send it to you real quick. You see a little quick video that I got. But yeah, man, it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. We've been really, really, really hard at work, and yeah, it's gonna be a really good year. I think when people see this, I just sent you a quick video clip on it. But
just tell me a little now.
Yeah, but we're really solidifying everything. We've been testing the new Electar S a lot, the Electrum Rust server, because we want to make sure that is super stable and running well before we just start releasing it to users. And with this final release, it's working like perfectly the way that we want it. So we want to be able to incorporate, some Sparrow stuff, people being able to mix and use Paynims and Cahoots off of Sparrow and back it by Electrum Rust server. So I'm excited to see what kind of new stuff we can come up with now that we're going to be hopefully working more and more with them, because they have a great product over there at Sparrow.
I'm just having a look at it now. It looks shit, mate. I really don't like it.
You bastard.
No, it's really fucking clean. So is this going to be only available on the sort of pre-built node, or is this going to be for everyone?
No, that's going to be that's going to be for everybody.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's going to be
really
super
nice.
clean. Yeah, and we're adding more and more functionality too with the later releases. You'll be able to do everything from this UI, hopefully by the end of like the second quarter. So installing, switching apps, pulling up everything, it's going to be, full control from that UI that of course you can access via Tor and, or mobile, and be taking care of your node anywhere. So we're super excited for this, and I think it's going to be a game changer. So
I can't wait.
I'm excited
that.
for it.
I'm a cheap bastard, and as much as I desperately want one of those things on my desk, and I really fucking do, I've gone for the cheap option. I'm just building from a Rock Pro now. I had it ordered and going to rebuild because I had so many problems previously trying to run it on a Pi, but I'm moving soon, hopefully in about a month, and then should have stable internet and rebuilding with the Rock Pro. So I can't wait to have that UI. It really, really looks slick.
Yeah. So the nice part. Sorry, I didn't cut you off. For people that have the Rock Pro, right? So we're gonna be selling the pieces, and our goal is to be able to sell pretty much like an upgrade kit that people can like buy the case. Like if they're like, I like this case is sick, I want this whole experience, but like I already have the pieces. Like why buy a whole brand new one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our goal will be to be able to have that available for people too, because we do have a lot of people that took our advice and went the Rock Pro route. So we don't want to leave them behind. And then we also have like the full DIY kit that will come with the metal cases as well. That Mind Farm Buy will be taken care of. So you can buy it through his store for the full, all the parts, all the pieces, all SSD, everything will come through him for people that like to just kind of build things themselves. But yeah,
That's
I'm
nice.
super excited. And yeah, you're going to love the UI. It's going to be fun. And all the new images are going to be plug and play. So plug and play. And just to add a quick piece on plug and play, from like a security standpoint, there's no default password set. There was like a whole debacle about some other node projects with a default password set. Um, and that isn't the case with RoninDojo. So with our plug and play, you're going to have a unique password that is automatically generated that we have no control over,
Mm-hmm.
and then and a username. And so then you can change those from the UI once you sign in. And so your sign in from the UI is going to be your new user password, and then you can change your user from inside there as well. So we're trying to make sure that it stays secure and also stays usable and all that fun stuff. So
It's a fine balance. It's a very fine balance.
it really is, and you just, it's kind of nice. Like you see all these other projects and people, and I guess that's the beauty of the Bitcoin community. I was going to say, I almost said FOSS, but thinking about like Umbrella, they're not necessarily FOSS, but
Mm-hmm.
they are not FOSS. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah,
But
no.
it's nice to be able to see other people's mistakes and kind of learn from their mistakes, and make sure that you're not making the same mistakes that they are. And it's, I don't know. I've been such a FOSS advocate for so long, and it's funny when people try to make that argument against it, that like, it doesn't matter as long as it's source available. That's always a fun debate, fun topic. But yeah, I'm definitely grateful to see all these other people making mistakes so that we can learn from it.
Yeah, well, it is incredibly important, and we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't have Bitcoin without free open source software, and it just doesn't seem to me that it fits with the ethos of Bitcoin to not have it. As much as I'm not going to attack projects, but I'm quite selective about who I have on here, because I want to try and keep the ones that I feel comfortable with. And if they're not going to be fully open source, it's just not something I want to run, because why would I? Because there are other options that are better. It just doesn't make sense.
Right. And, so I've like gone through this in my head a lot. Obviously like through debates and other stuff like that with people, but the FOSS thing is so important. And I don't think people really understand why, but the biggest point for me, at least in my idea. So like, number one, like FOSS kind of represents that idea that you're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, right? So like Foundation being a great example of like forking off, what was open source at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, so going from that and kind of building their own thing, but it's like acknowledging like, hey, like, we're building on stand on the shoulders of giants. We're going to try to make it, we think we can make it better. So you make it better. Right. And then if you're truly false, you just kind of take whatever changes that they make and they're trying to do, and you try to make your own changes. Everyone's vision's different, so it's never going to be the same product twice. Right. But, it's, I've gotten so much help and so many people reach out from other like node projects and other like developers, just reaching out and like adding, whether it's helping out with an issue or adding in a new change or whatever, like it's remarkable to see how much more can get done when people work together. because you are false, because they don't have to worry about, licensing or forking their project and you and them getting in trouble. It's like, no, man, we're all here. We're all together. Let's do this together and make everything better, because we all have different, especially in the node space, like we all have different projects, but we're all trying to get to the same spot. The only one that isn't FOSS that I really like their team, and I respect them for going on the dispatches where we were shitting on everybody, was Start Nine. Matt Hill and the Start Nine guys they're really good dudes, and I got to meet him in person at BitBlock Boom, and he was really, really awesome guy. Their whole team is super good, and what I respect is that he stood up and kind of, he took all the attacks that we were throwing at him and stood by his decision. And, it was a business decision that they made. And, ultimately, like, hey man, that's your decision. And I respected that for it. And he earned more respect from me for being able to stand up on the show and do it. And
I listened to that
and they've
one.
just
It was
been
very
like good.
good.
Yeah. And they we've been helping each other out, even though we're not FOSS. Like, we still kind of lean on each other for implementing different things or help with, advice and whatever. Like, I'm in good contact with them. So, it goes to show, right? Like, there's a difference, right, between people that are like, hey, we want to be FOSS, we're trying to do this right, which is what Start Nine is, how I see them, and other groups that are kind of like, hey, we're just going to do our own thing. So, it's cool. I hope more people just support those free open source projects, because if anything ever, and the other piece is like, if Ronin were to die, like everyone just stopped working on it, someone could fork our project and then just continue it on, or fork it and then continue the legacy, which is something that you see a lot more from the like at a smaller level, like applications or code level stuff. Sometimes like people make a fork and then they stop using it, but it's false. So then someone else comes along and forks it and continues to maintain whatever repo that was. So that can be super useful. So I don't know, I think it's important.
I remember listening to that particular episode, and I think basically you took the line that you were like, well, if somebody's going to fork what I'm doing and do it better, I don't deserve to have that business. And I thought that was really cool, because I was like, yeah, that's right. Like, if you're going to have something free and open source, if someone can do it better, fucking work harder. And like you said, then if that goes away, then someone is going to, if you guys went away, someone can still work on top of it. And it seems to me that that's just naturally how things are going to progress fastest and most securely. That's why I really like Foundation. I pestered Zach for fucking months, really, really annoyed him, just like, can you sponsor the show? Can you sponsor the show? Can you sponsor the show? As soon as I had one in my hands and had a play with it, I was just like, this is brilliant. Like, these are the guys that I want to be working with, and I have a huge amount of respect. And once obviously that had been out in the wild, then they pull in Q&A and they're building up a really cool team, and that's what happens when you do things properly. So I think it's going to be interesting to see long term what the difference is, whether you stay open source or not.
Yeah, I love Foundation. I was really happy I got one in my hands, and I'm not even a hardware wallet guy, but I did start using it, especially with Sparrow. But yeah, it's an amazing product, and ultimately, like, that's really what it's got to come down to. If you are a software developer, if you are running a business in the software tech community, and you have code, and if you are really, and I still give Matt Hill shit for this, but like, if you're open source, or if you're in this space, like, make it open source, do the right thing, because that's what Bitcoin's all about. But like, no one's going to build my product better than me. There is no way. Like, I will die on this hill before you can outperform me. Like, I promise you, there are a few people that can work harder than me, especially when I'm angry. And like if you try, like, if you want to do it, like, it would fire me up so much to see someone try to do that like, you're not going to win. You won't win. And if that's the mentality that we all had, man, like if it was like a hostile fork, you know what I mean? But like, if that's the case, man, like, you better bring it, because like I don't care how much VC money you have, like I'm gonna do it better. And that's like, that's what it comes down to. I think my only issue with like FOSS, and I think a lot of people agree with that idea, especially on Bitcoin Twitter, but like I think the problem I have is this. It feels disingenuous when people are like, "Oh, well, it's the code is viewable," and it's like, so it's open. It's open source. I'm like, it's not. That's not open source. That's not what that's about. Like, no one gives a shit that your code is visible. 99% of the people can't read it. It doesn't matter. Like, no one cares. You know what I mean? Like, people care about like whether or not it's like a value thing. It's like, where are your values at, and what is your like business perspective? Because like you're not going to win. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to win over people in Bitcoin, or you shouldn't, if you had to close source your stuff because competition. In my mind, you shouldn't be able to, because that is like, that would have never happened in the past. And I've had that. I've talked to like Samurai Wallet and T-Dev before. Like we were kind of just shooting the shit, and they were like, because they've been in space for a long time, and they were telling me like, dude, having closed sourced anything in Bitcoin was like, that was not fathomable. Like people would never, that would have never happened. And if it did, it would have been, everyone would have dropped it. Like it would have not had any support. So that's kind of the only piece that scares me, is that like people are like, so still like just kind of making excuses for it. But I do see a lot of pushback. I see a lot of people kind of fighting the good fight for open source. And I think that's the way to go, man. I really do.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, even if something is viewable, if it's not fully open source, then people can't build on it. And like you said, then you can't stand on the shoulders of that giant anymore. And you're going to see more development faster and better if things are open. It just naturally, it has to work that way. And then the question is, well, firstly, are you prepared to have competition? And if you're scared of competition, there's probably an issue. The other thing is, are you here just for the money, or are you actually here to fix the money? If you're here to fix the money and have this technology succeed, then I would think it would matter more that we have more products available to more people with more diversity, and just things happening faster and better would matter more than your bottom line. And so I can't really see an excuse for it. But at the same time, like, specifically when it comes to cold card, I still use my cold cards. I still really like them. I've always got on with Rodolfo, no matter how much beef he has with you guys and everyone else. And like, I've never had any issue. But would I buy one again? No. Would I suggest it over Foundation to friends and family? No, I wouldn't. So that's really where my line is. And it'd be the same with any products. It'd be the same with you. If you guys suddenly decided you do that, I'd be like, I'm not going to suggest it anymore. So, I think we do need to set a precedent. And, this is Bitcoin. Like you said, this is not the legacy system. This is something completely different. And we start losing our character, and we start, changing things because we're worried about a bottom line over probably the greatest technology ever. I think that's a bit short-sighted.
Absolutely. So it's really like it's one of those things that kind of scares me. I guess it's part of mass adoption, but or the quote unquote is mass adoption here. More people that are like, why does it matter? And I think that's why maybe some of it gained so much traction as the years went on, that like, it's okay for this, or it's excusable. We understand where they're coming from. And that's, I guess that's a piece of it. But, that the whole ethos of Bitcoin and potentially losing some of that idea is kind of what does, scare me a little bit, Good example is like the progression that has been made. I don't know, you might get some hate for this comment, so I'm sorry.
Probably, that's fine.
But my opinions and thoughts are my own. They are not maxed by bit by bits. But I remember like when I first started, and I was like, oh, Lightning's really cool, and I saw Zap Wallet, and I was like, this is awesome. And I watched a podcast listened to a podcast with Jack Mahler, and I was like, dude, this kid is a genius. He's developing his own like Lightning wallet. This is all brand new. It's all open source and like all this stuff, right? I was like, this is awesome. But then you kind of see the progression, and Are there benefits? You see a progression from like Zap and trying to do this and trying to do open source to like to where we are now with him and running Zap or running Strike, and you're like, this is totally different. There's like terms and conditions. You can't do certain things. You're working directly with the fiat system, and you're using Lightning to make things happen. And could it be different? Could it be used in different ways? Yeah, I mean maybe, but like, is it that same mentality that we had before? Like, I don't know. Like, you just kind of, it's one of those things. Like, I saw his progression. I was like, wow, like a lot has changed, and you just hope that you hope that like the good minds, the great minds, um, try to remember where like what this is all about, and we don't lose the ethos of Bitcoin, through this idea of like trying to get to X% or X, value, fiat value, because I think then we've been taken over.
Yeah, it's that thing of like mass adoption, pushing for that, pushing to get more and more people involved and make it as easy as possible. There's just always a trade-off. I don't know Jack. I've never spent any time with him, so I have no real comment on it. But it's a different product. I'll put it that way. It's not something I would personally use, but I do see that it is useful, and it's walking that tightrope of how far can you push things before there are major issues, and how hard can we push on the other side saying, no, you need to do things privately and hold your keys and not interact with the fiat system and do things in a more sovereign way. But it is a sort of journey, isn't it? And I suppose, with some of these things, people will use something like that, and then maybe a percentage will progress and go, no, I'm going to change, and I'm going to run my own node, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And so I don't know, it's something I struggle with myself. And the other thing I'm struggling with is this whole, there's loads of arguments on Twitter with like, should you be all in on Bitcoin, or should you be using the dollar to speculative attack itself, or like, all these arguments that are going on. It's like, I don't think there's like a clear answer to any of it, and it depends on your personal circumstance. But how far can we go before we get captured? And there are certain things that are happening now which do concern me, and I do think that maybe we're a bit blasé about it.
Yeah, I mean that's really where, that's where I'm at. And I think that's kind of where a lot of samurai guys are. Is that we get to a point where we're just like, we're trying to do what we think. And again, it kind of comes back to that original position. Like, everyone's trying to do what they think is right for Bitcoin, but man, it's hard. And especially when you disagree with people, because we're all trying to meet the same end goal. It's nice when you do have people who kind of meet in the middle, who kind of are like, they're the ones that are trying to get people to like agree and understand and see all sides. And like you're doing a good job. Like, you're not like, like, hey, I see Lightning as a purpose, or I use hardware wallets, and there's no need for the amount of harshness that I think sometimes goes with places. And I just think people get very passionate about what they do and how they do things on Bitcoin, and ultimately, like, how this all started, right? This is fuck you money. Use it how you want, do what you want, be that sovereign individual, and the rest will play itself out. Like, if you want to use custodial, use custodial. You want to run your own node? I hope you do. Run your own node, right? Be sovereign as possible, right? You want to use Lightning? Use Lightning. You don't want to? Don't use it. Like, who cares? Like, use the tools the way you want to use them. And, hopefully we keep seeing more people building better tools that make the space better. I just get concerned, like you said, with people with like the wrong space, maybe like people with too much influence, that are compliance bros that are willing to sell their soul for the number to go up. If we're all so confident that Bitcoin is number go up tech, then we shouldn't need to bend the knee or lick any boots in order to get there. And so that's my only real gripe. I don't really care how people implement or build or do or use Bitcoin at all. Yeah, I might not agree with it, but that's 100% your choice. But like we should all be on the same page about like not being so easy to comply or ask for permission from like the state in order to get the number to go up, you know?
There's always the talk of like high time preference and low time preference. It's very fucking high time preference to be trying to sell your soul to the devil. Yeah, you're going to get the price go up if you keep doing these deals and keep complying and scratching their back, but they're going to bend you over and fuck you. Do you want the short term joy of the price going up with the long term pain of pretty much, I see it as our final chance to take back our freedoms and to build a better society. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, that's a bit of a wild thing to say, but I really do believe that. I really think that this has come at a time which is like, it's becoming desperate now. You know, if I speak to a normal person in my day-to-day life, I'm thinking, we're at the end of times here. Like, this is really fucking bad. And to try and sell our souls to the people who have fucked it up so bad and trying to take our freedom just so that we have a few more digits in an account that don't mean anything, so that we can buy some more shit that doesn't mean anything long term, is the most high time preference thing I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, COVID this year, COVID the year before, probably COVID this year, you know, we're
10
seeing
years
it,
from
right?
now.
Like you're seeing, yeah, please don't say that. I'm not willing to accept that reality. But, you know, we see it, right? Like you see the government intervention, the government lockdown, and like, you know, there are plenty in it, and it's, some people look towards Big Brother and say like, please take care of me. I can't do it myself. I need help. But, you know, that can't, it can't work, right? It can't be the way that we operate. And Bitcoin, I agree. I think Bitcoin represents the last major stand against it, because if you do take the money, right, they got nothing to stand on. And you're seeing it, right? Like you're seeing people losing their jobs, right, over not getting vaccinated, or, you know, you're having to ask permission and have all these, you know, passport, like special COVID passports and vaccination paperwork, and, you know, positive or negative COVID tests to do anything. And then, you know, and that's your well-being, you know, that's like literally your well-being. And, you know, if we didn't ask for so much permission, if we didn't ask, you know, ask for help from the government, we just kind of let things do what it needed to do, I think we'd be in a totally different spot. And really what it comes down to is that we need to, you know, we need to start taking our freedoms back. We need to start, you know, preparing, because, you know, what's the next thing after you make people, you have all these people get fired for it, you know, that could the banks shut down your paperwork if you don't get vaccinated?
100%.
I don't know.
It's already happening.
Yeah, like they could do whatever they want. Oh shit, I didn't even know that was already happening. So yeah, there you go.
It's literally happening. People are being refused entry to banks to take their money out. You know, it's very, very close to a future where, oh, and you're not allowed to go into shops to spend your money, and it's getting very close to that future where people can't live. And you know, it's either it's at the very best it's coercion, because it's saying, well, you know, you either play by our rules and inject this shit into your body, whether you need it or not, whether you've had the virus or not, you're going to inject this. And if you don't, we're going to fire you. We're going to stop you spending your money. We're going to stop you from having an account. We're going to take away your right to move. We're going to take away everything, your whole life from you, basically. And unless you want to live in a cabin in the woods, you're fucked. This is the power of Bitcoin, is that not only if they say, well, you can't spend your money, if you have Bitcoin, you go, fucking try and stop me, as long as you're using it correctly. And you also have the time with number go up. You have a little bit more time, hopefully, to think about these things, and a little bit more of a cushion where, you know, I've got some really, really close friends, people who have been on this show, who are in normie fiat jobs, who are just about to lose their jobs because they're in the medical profession and they're standing up to it. And, you know, they spent 10, 12 years, whatever, studying, and they're about to lose their job because they stand for something. And that's a pretty scary future. And I just thank God that they actually have a bit of a cushion and that they can think, because the panic otherwise is, well, I can't feed my family. I will comply.
Exactly. It's, it's kind of putting us up in that position, right? Where you have to make that choice. And maybe I'll try to be optimistic. We'll try to be optimistic for a second.
Yeah, let's do that.
People learn through pain, and maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's like the push that people have to have, mass firing, mass, bank closures and whatever. And people are like, how am I supposed to do this? And Bitcoin's there for them. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'll try to be optimistic and say that, like, hope people start waking up more and more. I know in America, like, I'm seeing more and more people as, like, they're like, oh, now you need a booster. Now you need this. And people are like, this is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And people that were pro vaccination before are slowly starting to be like, what's the point? Or they're like, I'm double vaccinated. I still got sick. And you're like, see, like, what is the point? But I'm hoping, I'm starting to see that trend. I'm hoping that those kind of things open up people's eyes, and maybe all this fiat printing will add to it too. Maybe we're just going through like the
final throes,
the final push, the final like disaster, and then all of a sudden comes out glorious Bitcoin. Maybe
I like that.
That's like the optimistic outlook, right? Like, it's going to be you're going to get super shitty before you get better, right? So maybe that's what'll happen, and people will be there for it,
Well, that's certainly a positive take. And on a personal level, what I noticed was, if you look at it like a chart of my mental health, it went right fucking down, like bottomed out, practically zero, complete rug pull on my mental health for a while, and physical health. And then what's happened recently is I've got so angry at all this stuff. I've gone, fuck this shit. I've given up smoking. I've given up drinking. I'm in the gym 6 days a week, smashing the shit out of it, getting stronger every day, fitter every day, because I'm like, no, I'm ready to fight now. I'll fucking take these bastards on. And so in that sense, on a personal level, it's been positive because I have something to fight for or fight against. And I don't know whether any of this is related as well, but we're seeing since the last time that we spoke, which was October 2020, then we were all hyped. We were sat because we had, I made note of this, it was 1,693.68 Bitcoin in Whirlpool. And now we're sat at 4,379.40. And I don't know if that's because the UI's got better, the UX is easier, or maybe it's because of this sort of shit. And people are going, fuck this, I'm out, and I want to be properly out.
Hell yeah. I hope it's probably both. But I kind of like, I was sitting here just like grinning and kind of like your speech made me like feel super happy. I mean, I've been doing the same thing. No, I mean, like, I'm telling you, that's like all the aggression, all that stuff and anger that people put on Twitter, like, to go to the gym. Like, you are going to feel so much better. Like, I've been doing the same thing. Like, I've been hitting the gym a lot more lately, like 5 or 6 days, and just like you said, just crushing it. And it's such a relief. You know what I mean? Like, you come back, you feel better, you're sore the next couple of days, and but you feel better about yourself. And you're like, I'm so glad I took my anger out that way instead of getting angry or thinking about the end of the world. Like, there's nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes I've stopped people before where, it's like, oh, this is horrible. Like, there's nothing that we could, like, what could we do? And you're like, man, like, just do what you do, right? Like, figure out a path to take care of your family and everything else. So I was like, but like, trying to go through depression of like, this is the end of the world. Like, that's not going to help. Like, that's not going to do it. Like, ultimately, like, it either comes down to how you interact with your government, good or bad, or rebellion or whatever, or your rebellion is Bitcoin and you go that route. And then you keep building, or you find ways to contribute to projects and support things, and or you turn whatever your day job, fiat job was, and you figure out a way to sell that skill for and accept Bitcoin for it. There are ways to opt out. We just have to get to that point, and I think we'll be there soon. I like something tells me that like this is only going to get worse for a little bit, and I think people are going to have like an absolute like it's going to be enough, and then maybe like the people in Australia they'll either like lock down the whole country or like there's going to be like some sort of like civil war and they can start the revolution of the world. That would be pretty cool because they're the worst. I'll give them there. They're terrible over there.
And Austria.
Yeah.
Austria's fucking terrible as well. They haven't learnt their lesson, it seems.
Yeah, apparently not. Yeah, so it's gloomy, but I think we can try to stay positive and just keep building. I think that's really what from like a Bitcoin perspective. It's like that's why I love podcasts. Like I love people trying to put out information for people because you know what, like maybe not everyone needs it or needs to hear it this day or whatever, but maybe it's someone like 6 months from now, a year from now, maybe then they hear it and they go, oh shit, it makes sense now. I like I'm in it now, and maybe the tools that I use are building for Ronin, like maybe they're niche now, but maybe it's the tools, and that's the idea behind why you build what you build as a developer. But you want these tools for the people when they need it. So it doesn't matter when they get in.
Well, thank you for building the tools. I think we'll wind this up on a positive note because I feel infinitely better than I did when I started this call. I feel very positive. I'm very excited to have my RoninDojo up and running again, especially with this new UI. And, I'd like to get my hands maybe on one of these cases as well. They just look fucking beautiful. But is there any bits that, any updates or any bits we didn't cover that you wanted to and we haven't?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, the EU and UK shipping should be happening towards the end of February, early March. So we'll start serving you guys out there, and yeah, we only have about 18 now of the initial 100 order left, and then yeah, like I said, you can buy DIY cases with the case in there from Mind Farm Buy. But yeah, it's other than that, and yeah, new UI. New UI is going to be sexy. That's going to be it's going to be my favorite release by far. So hopefully everyone's ready and prepared for that. And yeah, I don't think we missed many other things, but it's always fun talking to you.
Yeah, mate, it's always very enjoyable. We need to not leave it as long next time. Maybe when this UI goes live, we can have a chat. I'll continue shilling this this beautiful beast, the Tanto as well. It really is gorgeous. But yeah, thanks for everything you do, mate. I really mean that. I really appreciate it. It is the node that I love the most for anything on chain. There's only two in my mind that really matter at the moment to me, and yours is one of them. And yeah, thanks for fighting the good fight.
Yeah, brother, and yeah, I definitely want to do this again sooner because, like I said, this is definitely one of my favorite podcasts to talk on because it really does feel like like we might be across the world, but it feels like I'm just like shooting the shit with one of the boys, and that's like as a person doing this, it's hands down the most fun. So I appreciate what you're doing, and yeah, we'll definitely have one as soon as we get this release out, and yeah, hopefully everyone loves it. Maybe I'll try to get my hands on an extra case out there. Maybe Q&A can help take care of you.
All right, mate. Well, yeah, this has been awesome, and maybe one day we can do this in person. That would be great. But until then, thanks again, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, sounds good, buddy.